All right, good morning, everybody. Good morning. We're going to get started with our opening remarks and kick off our program. My name is Mike Skelton. I'm the President and CEO of the Business and Industry Association of New Hampshire, and very pleased to be here and be a partner with today's New Hampshire Offshore Wind Summit. Great turnout, lots of interest in the room, excellent program. So really excited to be a part of this, and thank you all for being here. A few introductions. So really grateful for the sponsors who have made today's event possible. Our breakfast sponsor is Unitil. Our lunch sponsor is Eversource. Our boat tour sponsor is Granite State Power. Our Peas tour sponsor is Liberty. And our registration sponsors, the New Hampshire Port Authority, the New Hampshire Electric Co-op, New England for Offshore Wind, the Peas Development Authority, C&J Bus Lines, and East-West Aeronautics. Leave a hand for our sponsors this morning. Events like this don't come together on their own. There's a lot of folks in the background and volunteers working to make this possible. So I want to thank the various partners that were involved in this. The BIA was very pleased to be invited to participate, along with the Seacoast Chamber Alliance and the state of New Hampshire. I want to give a special thanks and shout out to Mark Sanborn, the Assistant Commissioner at the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services, for his leadership in organizing this very first inaugural New Hampshire Offshore Wind Summit. And I'd like to thank the Event Planning Committee for all their time and efforts as well. Our Event Planning Committee is Will Craig from Eversource, Erica Horn from the New Hampshire Department of Energy, Margaret Joyce from the Dover Chamber of Commerce, Kirsten Koch from the BIA of New Hampshire, Mikhail Patel, New Hampshire Business and Economic Affairs, again, Mark Sanborn from New Hampshire DES, Ben Van Camp from the Chamber Collaborative of Greater Portsmouth, Bob Varney from Normando Associates, State Senator David Waters, and Chris Williams from the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services. Big hand for our planning committee. So as I said, we have a very busy program, 4 different panels with some incredible talent and speakers in each of those. So we want to jump into the program, but we're very fortunate to have a special guest this morning to kick off our program and say a welcome. Someone who's always interested in new opportunities to strengthen our economy, our environment, and our state. It's my pleasure to introduce Governor Chris Sununu. Governor.
Well, thank you. Good morning. Good to see everybody. I'm sure this won't be a COVID super spreader event. I'm just kidding. We're past COVID. That's what Joe Biden told me. We're okay. We're okay. We'll see. It is really great to be here, and it's awesome just to have this opportunity. Not for myself just to be up here, but for all of you to really talk about some of this stuff, because we're getting there. We're really moving forward. We've never really slowed down. We started this whole concept of where New Hampshire could be a partner and be, I think, take advantage of the right opportunities. When we talk about offshore wind back in 2018, 2019, we kind of really get the ball moving. I go down and I meet with Boehm, and we start talking about what this would look like, the feasibility of it, what's happening in other states, what has worked, what hasn't worked, what lessons can we learn, and we kind of lay out a strategy with stakeholders, with businesses, with DES, with energy, all the different pieces that have to come in, because as you guys know, this is a really complex issue, an amazingly complex issue. So you do need to make sure that all the right stakeholders are in the room, that the voices are heard. At some point, we got to make decisions that go or no go, and what are the costs, and where this is going to be, and how it plays into what's happening in New England. Obviously, this is a very precarious time in New England. We're really feeling the pinch of what is happening with basically the unreliability of our electricity grid. We're feeling it every day. I know the utilities are here. I was excited. I thought we'd have swag bags with like gift cards or something for Eversource and Unitil or something. But there you go. Oh, there you go. So maybe, who knows? Maybe there's gift certificates for lower energy costs in the bottom. But it is a regional-wide crisis. I mean, that it's a problem, and it's about to become a crisis if we don't start really talking about what we need to do, not just in the next 6 months to 18 months, because that's very different. But what we're talking about today, which is where we want to go 6 months and 18 years, 6 years and 18 years down the road. I think it's kind of funny. My team handed me a bunch of talking points, and I'm like, I don't really read speeches, so we're just going to wing this one. I think the opportunity today, it's a little different. I've been to a couple of these, right, where folks, different stakeholders are getting together. This group is a little more situated on the economic development side, which I like, because this is where we're going to really, you guys have the opportunity to really discuss the impacts and financial opportunities for the state. In terms of what happens with the port, making sure that we are making great, and is Gino here? Where's Gino? No? He's hiding. Gino's hiding in the back, as smiley as ever. But making sure we're making great investments at the port and making sure that those are being backed up, making sure we're capitalizing on those investments, taking all the advantage that we can, making sure that the fishermen are having the opportunities that they can, making sure that the opportunity that we have geographically, right? Because of how we're situated, we are really poised to bring some of these opportunities of transmission and whatever it might be, into New England through the New Hampshire corridor. And if that makes the best sense and how it might be done and the jobs that could be created and all of that sort of thing. And then I don't know if you guys will get into it a little bit, but just look, the straight costs, right? Where are these cost models going, right? What is the balance? Everything from the technologies and innovations that are being used in other parts of New England now down in Long Island Sound for similar type offshore wind projects, and where those costs might be and how we might be able to invest in those, and again, what those mechanisms of investment will be. All the while, again, if you notice, I'm not using the P word, right? You got to take politics out of it. The worst part about energy policy in America is there's politics behind everything that's said and done. We have the opportunity to do it a little differently. And we have the obligation and the responsibility to do it differently, right? Because somebody has to pay at the end of the day. And these families are feeling it. They are really feeling it right now and today when you talk about a grid throughout all of New England that is unreliable, right? We saw what's going on with the rates here. We've now seen even Massachusetts surpass our rates. And when some of the contracts come out in late December, for the December 22 contracts, you'll see a few more down in Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island. Those ones are going to skyrocket too, right? Because you have to have a baseload generation here. You have to have reliability while you're making the right opportunities available, whether it be offshore wind or solar, hydro. I'm not going to lie to you, still loving hydro, and I still think there's opportunity to do more hydro all across New England because those rivers don't shut off. So you guys are really focusing on the offshore wind piece, the economic development, making sure that all the voices are carried and that those interests are carried forward and no one gets lost in the mix. But at the same time, my job is in the Department of Energy and the PUC, really trying to make sure that we're looking at things in a more broad base and more long-term vision, right? The hard part, it's so easy to get caught up in, well, let's just discuss what's going to happen in the next 6 to 18 months. We really need to be thinking, and part of this group's mission is to thinking what this really looks like from a business standpoint, if you will, for the state of New Hampshire, and an energy standpoint, which is a business standpoint for the state of New Hampshire, like I said, 6 and 18 years down the road. Not that it's going to take that long. I think we're a few years out. This administration, we had COVID that kind of slowed things down a little bit. Here's a funny, is anyone from Bohm here? I don't even know. Was Bohm invited? Good, probably best. So, look, Bohm's good, but this is a dead true story. I went down, I'm looking for my team. When did I go down to Washington? I think I went down there in like May or something to visit with the head of Bohm. And we walk into the Department of Energy. This is May of 22. And it's pretty quiet, right? There's really someone meets us at the door, and I go upstairs, and we're walking through this long hallway, huge hallways, no one in sight, right? We finally get to the office, and the executive director of Bohm's there. We had a nice meeting. It was a really good conversation. And I said, boy, everyone's still working remotely. She goes, we just got back to the office for the first time this week. May of 22, that building was dead empty until mid-May. And I went, oh my God. And I've come to find out, I've done a little more research, a lot of buildings in Washington are still empty. Washington just is moving incredibly slow. That doesn't mean we need to slow down here, right? We need, if anything, maybe it gives us more time to do our homework, to have groups like this, to make sure we're considering all the different impacts that come to bear. But it was quite shocking, frankly. I mean, I knew they were going to be a lot behind New Hampshire, but not really that much. Hopefully they're getting their things going forward. Hopefully they're actually getting things moving to the pace where they'll be able to keep up with us. But we're probably a few years from making some, exploring some real exciting potential investments, but we got to do it the right way. It's all about just doing it the right way. So look, the best part I think that we have going for us is that we're accessible. Not just the governor, but you have state senators here, you have representatives here, you have the assistant, what is that, you're the assistant commissioner? Deputy commissioner? I don't know, whatever. The number 2 guy at DES. You have the commissioner of energy here somewhere. Where's Jared? Nope, he's not here. He's here somewhere. He's hiding in the back. Hey, Jared, when the governor calls your name, you're supposed to step forward. Good job, way to be. Good God. Who hired these monkeys? No, but the fact that you do have really accessible decision makers in this room and being part of this, I think, hey, Don, how are you? You have the consumer advocate, always fighting for lower rates and making sure that we're doing it in as responsible a way as we can for the actual ratepayer. So that's the real great opportunity. You wouldn't really have this in a small room like this and an opportunity like this. You wouldn't really have this in, never mind the rest of New England and the rest of the country. Take advantage of it, right? Make sure folks know your name and who you represent and where you're from and what you're part of and what your voice is and where your thoughts are on this today. Don't miss the opportunity. We'll keep doing things like this, which is really great. And you all know where I am, room 208, big gray building, Gold Dome, Concord. Just come, you know where it is. Come knock. I mean, really, come make sure that we know what's really happening. So I think there's a lot of ways we could go, a lot of variables still out there. And that isn't, that for me is really the, I'm going to keep going back to that word, opportunity we have, right? We want to find the right path and the right door at the right time for the right mix that makes all the benefit of New Hampshire. And my job as governor, the best part of my job is I get to be really selfish. My job is to be super, super selfish, only for the 1.4 million people in the 603. That's all I really care about right now. That's it. That's it. And we got to make sure we're putting them first every single time and fighting for their interests above all else every single time. We are part of a New England grid, to be sure, but that's why we instruct our team to fight tooth and nail for what is in our interest at the end of the day. And sometimes, there's deals to be made with other states, and you have to understand where other states' investments are going, and that's just going to affect us one way or the other. But we have to, and you guys really have that obligation, to carry your personal interests, your business's interests, your economic interests, and making sure that that voice is heard. Don't miss that chance to be selfish for what you are here for. And when you put all that into the table, that kind of creates the opportunity in the mix, and we can definitely find the best mix as long as everybody is there on an equal footing. We really can find the best mix for the entire state. So thank you guys for doing this. Bob, good to see you. I love that Bob Varney's here. I always joke about Bob because you were head of DES, right? Bob was head of DES, like in the 1920s or something. Went on to run EPA Region 1. Probably could have gone off and had this wonderful, retirement or whatever it is that former federal government bureaucrats do. They all seem to be doing well, but came back and is being part of this because, again, you have individuals like this, not just Bob, but other folks in the room as well, who just want to make sure that we have security and opportunity as we move forward in the decades to come, and making sure that New Hampshire's put first. And I think that's just the awesome opportunity we have. So thank you guys very much. Let us know what's happening. I think it's going to be great, a great day. I've seen some of the preliminary panel discussions you're going to have. Great groups. I mean, really, really good groups. And I would just challenge you, if you have an opportunity behind a microphone today, don't just take your 2 seconds and say who you are and where you're from, and we should, we hope this all works out, right? Tell us really what you think. Tell us really where you think this should go. And it doesn't mean that everyone's going to agree with you in the room. That's okay. The more we know today, the more voices we really have, and really understanding the pushes and pulls and the variables and dynamics of what's impacting you or your business or your interest or whatever it is, the more that gets put into that mix when we kind of start making our final decisions, and when we know when we're going to really say go to this and we're working with the feds, we know what to put on the table. Don't leave anything behind. I guess that's the real message. Don't leave anything behind assuming you'll get to it later. Fight hard for your interests. I'm fighting hard for New Hampshire's interests, but I can only do that if we have all the variables on the table that you guys can and the opportunities you guys can create for us today. Thank you guys so much. Have fun.
What can we do to accelerate? You said in just your comments, 6 to 8 years.
Yeah.
What can we do
To accelerate the process?
to half that time of process?
Well, the feds will really determine a lot of the process, right? And that's why I led with they're not even in the building as of 4 months ago. right? Everybody's still remote. I mean, and there are some people in that building, but it's amazing. So my point in saying that, the question is, how can we accelerate the process? My point in telling that story about Washington is they are a huge part of the timeline here. I don't have a whole lot of faith there. I really don't. They're not going to speed it up because they're literally not in the office to do so. So we'll be a bit at their whim, but there is an opportunity there because hopefully costs come down. We understand what works and what doesn't work in other projects. So it isn't intentionally going slow, but the opportunity that the feds are giving us by going a little bit slower than some of these accelerated projects that have seen a lot of problems, supply chain issues, all of that, we need to really understand that. I was talking to the guys down in Long Island Sound, down Block Island, I guess it was. Just where they do their laydown staging areas has gotten horribly complex, right, in terms of the construction. So, I mean, just making sure that all those pieces are lined up. So it's not about just accelerating. If you accelerate things for the sake of accelerating them, well, then you're missing the opportunity to maybe do it the best way possible. If it makes sense to go fast, that's great. But understand that the federal government could be a block in there. But go at the speed and fight for the speed that is in New Hampshire's interest, not just in the interest of, hey, we got a project done. We'll get the project done. This is going to happen. Let's just make sure we're doing it in the right way, at the right speed, with the right cost variables put on the table, and making sure that the interests of a lot of these folks, whether they be fishermen or charter boats or whatever it might be, the port itself, making sure all of those interests are held at hand and making sure that we carry them through all those decisions that we get to. All right, thanks, guys.
miles, we can declare an interest and have regulatory authority. So Senate Bill 268 sets out that process. It directs the state to apply for consistency and then use